Hi, this is Irene Googe with Loving Lessons Pediatric Sleep Consulting. I'm so excited to have this wonderful opportunity in our Dad's Corner, having the opportunity to share the dad's perspective, because you know what? Dads are daring and great. And we have two special guests with us who are going to give a little bit of insight on the father's perspective. Because I think that sometimes when we look at the parenting journey, sometimes that side of the story is kind of swept under the rug, or we don't always hear about what dads are thinking as we are going through this parenting journey. I'm really excited to have Jake, who is the operator of Me Fine Foundation, a local nonprofit focused on giving hope to children with critical illness in their families being treated at local hospitals. And Me Fine provides financial assistance, emotional support programs, and other necessary resources to help out typical burdens of life so that parents and caregivers can get the support that they need when they are dealing with these situations. And I have Jake, who is a lover of bitter hops, Loud Sox, and UNC hoops. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Irene. That was quite the difference in bios. And I think you gave me credit, actually, for both of those. Joey is the executive director for Me Fine and did a far better job of giving you information on his himself. So that was very funny hearing those back to back.
You referenced beer and socks, though. You did fine. That's good enough.
Yeah, it checked all the boxes.
Okay, very good. All right, so tell me, you guys are with Two Dads, One Mic. Tell me a little bit about what Two Dads and One Mic is all about.
It's the brainchild of Jake and I. That was one where we both kind of had the same idea, and I don't remember where the convergence happened, but we both kind of had the same idea and decided, oh wait, you want to do that too? Okay, let's do this together. We basically wanted to have an irreverent podcast talking about the fact that we're two guys in our 30s that just happen to be in charge of other human beings. And A, how do we get here? And B, what are we doing right now so that we make sure the children are still alive?
I'd say that's about right. At the time, Joey was working for the local sports talk radio station, and I guess Joey would probably tell you that because I'm lazy, I said, hey, look, I want to do this, but I have no idea how to do a podcast. And he said, well, I've got all the tools here. So we got started there, and then have just kind of tried to put it together, find different studios, move toward Google Hangouts, things like that, just to keep it alive. But it's a lot of fun.
Very good. And so what was the whole purpose? So what do you do on your podcasts, and what do you talk about?
They're completely irreverent. I mean, I'll tell you that we do talk about some serious topics, but I think one of the things Jake and I have been really diligent about and staying true to is that we don't really give advice because I think everybody's got to find their own road. It's kind of like, hey, this is what we're encountering as parents. We normally bring on a guest that is also a parent, and just talk about some things that we're going through. Talk about some things that are part of each of our journeys, and just seeing what similarities we have, and swapping ideas. But there's never been a, hey, this is what you do, this is how you parent, because there's no right answer. There really isn't.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, both Joey and I have a very similar personality in that we like to keep things loose. We don't take ourselves or really anything too seriously. And the idea was, when we first started, to have dads on, hear dad stories. But as we got into it, we realized that we can still talk about dad stuff, but I think it would be good to have the female, women's perspective as well. So we started having on a lot more female guests, which I think brought a nice, it softened the podcast up for sure, but it brought on a nice element as well.
It led us to you, Irene.
I love it. I love it because Jennifer Durbin actually introduced us, and I love that we were able to get connected, and I love listening to your podcast, and I like that you say that you don't take yourselves too seriously. And I like that you also say that you don't give out advice. And I'm asking you to share some advice with us. But I think what's interesting is I really appreciate just your feedback that you share from the father's perspective, that not taking it too seriously and kind of maybe balancing out that other side in parenting. So In regards to your topics that you talk about on the show, what are some things that people would hear you guys talk about? What are those dad items?
I think that we, at least in the first few shows, kind of stumbled upon, yes, we wanted to bring on people. Let's be honest, we wanted to bring on some people that had some sort of following on Twitter, that whether they were a local sports journalist or wrote a blog or something like that, somebody that had a platform. And then as we got into it, we realized, oh wow, this guy has a blended family, or this person adopted, and so everybody, it kind of worked out that, and that's just life in general, that you realize is that not everybody's family is just cookie cutter. Look, we had a few kids and whatever. There's always hurdles and bumps in the road. And while, again, you tried, the intention at the outset was let's keep this loose and fun, I think every show, at least for a few minutes, gravitated toward a more serious conversation where, again, maybe we weren't giving advice, but we at least talked around an issue that some segment of fathers out there are going through.
I think the one that immediately jumps out at me, and it was totally unintended, but we knew it would be a good guest when we got it. Bruce Ham, who's actually development director at the YMCA downtown in Raleigh, he lost his wife to cancer, and he's got 3 girls. And they started telling their story, and it's called, they call themselves the Real Full House, because her brother, who's a friend of mine and Jake's, Hayes, moved in with him to help him raise the girls, and it really is pretty much the same setup as the TV show Full House was. But just hearing his story and talking about, life, letting her go, and then moving on afterwards and having to raise 3 girls, it was just such a, holy crap, this just got real moment. And was totally organic, was not something we planned, but I remember walking away from that, and as soon as Jake and I clicked the stop button from recording that one, we both looked at each other, which we were gassed. I mean, that was a very, very heavy story, but I'm so glad we did it, and I think we're better for it, having heard it and having shared it with the people that listen.
I will share, anyone who has not listened to that podcast needs to go back and listen to it, because that was one of the first ones that I listened to. I was like, who are these 2 dads when Mike? And listened to that whole story, and I just loved hearing the dad side in it. Again, in my training with Kim West, like, one of the things she really was adamant about is making sure that both dads are in sleep consultations. But, the way I grew up, my dad would never show up for that kind of stuff, and that's not how I grew up. But I think that there's a huge shift in our society right now, and dads are getting more involved and doing a lot more, and so making sure that dads are not forgotten in this equation. And now through my work, I've really seen, like, the dad's role is so crucial. Like, you are an essential piece to that whole puzzle to make it work, and we are navigating and figuring this journey of parenting out. And I don't think any of us are experts or can give the best advice, because we just don't really know, because everybody's story is so different.
Right.
So if someone is looking to get connected and, like, learn more about 2 Dads and 1 Mike and kind of some of the things you have coming up, what would you say where could they find you?
Basically everywhere. We're on street corners. That was Jake's idea, was to set up on street corners with the big giant arrows and flip those around. They haven't been very successful, so we kind of migrated back towards Twitter, Facebook, email. Jake, how's that Pinterest page looking?
The Pinterest, I've just been really blown away at how much following we've gained from that. It's been a real joy of mine over the last several months to build that out.
Now, on Pinterest, do you have a lot of moms or dads following?
We do not have a Pinterest page. That's Joey. That's Joey and I. Because we're all over all these social media channels, and in the show we'll say, oh, how's our Pinterest page, how's the Tumblr page. I mean, honestly, if people go look at the podcast, I mean, it's been a few months since we posted one. Since then, Joey and I have done a couple of events. He and I both like to go out and speak. We'll do things like this, which are a lot of fun. We've had some studio challenges, some issues, but we're looking to move more toward actually a format like this. You know, we're coming for you, Irene, for your fan base. We're going to steal all your fans and followers, and that's really what I want to use this platform for. No, but I think we're going to move more toward a hangout model, and either funnel that into a podcast or do something similar to this, just because, you know, the personalities that we have on the show, it's great to hear their voice, and, you know, for a lot of people, a podcast is an easy way to listen, whether they're driving in their car, or as some of my buddies say, I listen when I'm mowing the lawn. But to have, you know, some of the people that we have in the studio, just seeing the interaction is part of the fun as well. So that's kind of what we're in the process of doing. But again, we do a lot of this stuff in the meantime as well.
The actual handles on social media, which I probably should have given out to begin with, at 2dads1mike on Twitter, Facebook.com/2dads1mike. The website's 2dads1mike.com. You can find either Jake and I as individuals on Twitter. Mine is at Joey_Powell, Powell, and Jake is at Jake Fehling, JakeFehling.
Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and post those links down below the video for everyone to check it out, so then they can continue joining us as we continue this Dad's Perspective. I'm so excited that you guys will be back. In our next piece, we're going to talk about Father's Day coming up. So I'm really excited to get some insight for this year's Father's Day gift. So thank you so much, Jake and Joey, for being here with us. And I'm hoping everyone will go check out 2 Dads and 1 Mic to kind of get that guy's perspective on how things are going in your 30s. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.